looks like the audience is ready. Let's get this started. Good evening and good morning, Unicorn fam. Zygration enthusiasts, rise up. We are at the cusp of migration. Yesterday, the Rainbow Bridge, plus our new native staking portal, plus the liquidity bootstrapping event went live. Coming up soon is the new Shadowcorn migration, core game migration, Unicorn Party leaderboard, and oh my, the custom marketplace. Don't let all of these exciting developments distract you from the month and the year. Yes, it's May 2024. Just like that, it's our second year anniversary for the core game. Crypto Unicorns has been up and running for 2 roller coaster ride years. New game modes, QOLs, meta changes, mobile games, and so much more has happened during these last 2 years. For those who have been with us, thank you so much for being part of the Unicorn family throughout the ups and downs. And here's to another exciting chapter of Crypto Unicorns. We are here with Crypto Unicorn CEO and co-founder Aron Beierschmitt, and of course our director, Councilwoman Ziori. Take it away, Aron. Good morning.
Good evening, Sparkly. Thank you as always for the wonderful intro and the on point. Loving it. All right, let's get started. Welcome, friends. I guess let's take a step back and honestly celebrate. We've now been live operating what I believe to be the most complex Web3 gaming economy for over 2 years. It's really an amazing accomplishment that very few projects at this point can match. I just want to give a massive shout out to our incredible team globally who really do work their asses off daily to deliver for our global community of players. It's really been a phenomenal ride and quite the roller coaster. Looking forward to the next 2 years, quite frankly. All right, yesterday we launched both the Rainbow Bridge and staking website. This is, of course, our first major step forward along the path to Zai. In less than 24 hours, we've already amassed 200,000 in organic stake liquidity, which is over 15% of our starting total value locked in that pool. So not terrible, and that 200K liquidity is earning about 600% if you staked for a year, which a majority of people thus far have been staking for a year. Everyone in the community, you'll notice us begin to ramp marketing around the liquidity bootstrapping event over the next few weeks with various co-marketing partners, of course, Camelot, Arbitrum, and Zai being the key ones. You're also going to see a number of KOLs activating over the coming weeks, as well as a series of Twitter spaces. Keep in mind, it's important to sustain momentum over longer periods of time. The market, macro market right now continues to be, let's just say, choppy. And so we're being very cognizant of that and not firing all of our marketing bullets into a blood red ocean. And of course, are then staggering and staging them out over the next few weeks, obviously in an effort to keep momentum into game shutdown and then, of course, the game relaunch on Zai. So stay tuned. With the release of 3.3 last week, everyone on the Laguna team is now focused on the 4.0 release, which is the Great Zygration release. This build is really hyper-focused on implementing only the changes necessary for our transition to Zai, as well as updating tuning for our new brand spanking new CU token, and last but not least, performance improvements. As we've shared before, the core game on Polygon will be sunsetting on May 27th, just enough time to finish out the current leaderboards. And, give y'all one final week with your corns. Get ready for, of course, a Unicorn Party event while the core game is down. And we hope everyone here gets a bit of a break in the lead up to the launch on Zai in late June. All right, that's it for my grandstanding, Sparkly. I'm happy to take questions now.
All right, very nice. We do have a couple questions over here. We have 3 anonymous questions, and we have a couple of questions over at our thread on the feedback channel. If you guys want to add your last minute questions there, please go ahead and hold on. I'm going to link that in a bit. Also, if you would like, you can also hop on to stage, just click the hands and we're going to approve that. The button looks like a raised hand. You can queue up at any time, and once we accept your request, you will see a green bar at the top of your Discord. You can click accept to begin speaking. So first, let's do the anonymous questions. The first one is, hi, are we going to see top tier exchanges listing CU? Is there any help from the Zai team? By the way, we already have a CU up on Mexi. Give that a look. We also posted it on our announcements.
Yeah, absolutely. Beyond the exchanges that we currently have, which to your point, Sparkly, MEXC has already relisted us. Bitmart and BitGet are in progress on that front. You'll see those go live here shortly. Obviously, yes, we are working through the listing process with multiple centralized exchanges. The current targets are HTX, Gate, OKX, Bybit, and obviously the granddaddy, Binance. So we're working through that. It is a little bit of a game of getting, we're kind of listed on tier threes for the most part outside of MEXC, which I would say is sort of a tier two. And then obviously we're working towards these larger exchanges with our sites ultimately on getting ideally Bybit and Binance, but at least one of those. Now, listings, of course, to a certain extent, they need to see certain amounts of volume and stuff before they give you anything that's reasonable from a listing fee perspective. So it is a bit of a negotiation. The more successful we are over the next 90 days, the easier that will get. And to answer the other question, yes, the Zai team has been incredibly helpful on this front in putting us in the room with both centralized exchanges as well as market makers. So that's been fantastic. The one and only LG Nanessa is working through that and making great progress and headway on that front. So more on that soon. Obviously, I'm also very happy to see just generally DEX activity continue to scale throughout the space. And to a certain extent, while still important, centralized exchanges seem to be less so than they were. And we've seen a lot of tokens do these launch pads and not do super well on the other side. So again, I think we're in a great position. Our goal is to not fragment our liquidity across a series of exchanges and focus on obviously getting into the major leagues, and I'll leave it at that.
All right, here is another question. Why is Delphi Digital silent about CU?
You can go ask them directly that on Twitter. I will just say generally VCs deploy capital. Generally, VCs deploy capital, and then they look to deploy more capital because it's their job to deploy capital. So the myth that VCs spend a lot of time helping their startups is usually not true. I love Jan and Pierce to death. Jan was one of the few investors that played the game daily, at least for the first year. They were active in governance and put forward, the proposal around the team and investors relocking their tokens for an extra year. So don't get me wrong, they've participated, right? But they're on to whatever L2, L3 data availability play they're currently invested in. And, that's that. Again, if you really want to know, go ask them on Twitter.
All right, huge shout out to Pierce, by the way. I do remember that you guys did a video together. So anybody interested can watch that on YouTube. That was in year 1 of Crypto Unicorns.
Yeah, that was right before the Dark Forest and the token generation
Cool.
event. And so don't get me wrong, like they were incredibly helpful in the early days. And again, I mean, it's kind of the VC way, and I've done this game long enough that it doesn't even bother me, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay, anonymous question number 3. Aaron, are you Team Drake or Team Kendrick? Will you ever drop some bars on BBL Drizzy?
Oh
Do
my
we need some
God.
explanation here?
I'm Team Kendrick all the way. You can't beat
Oh
Kendrick
boy.
in a million years, and I think it's very clear who's winning. So yeah. Would I drop bars? No. I would be incredibly embarrassing.
Not even a little diss track.
A little diss track. I don't know. Maybe one day
A
we'll see.
tiny. Oh boy. Let's hang on to that. Who asked that? Okay.
Well, we need to do some fundraising. The old esports startup I used to work for, before the company that I owned, they did a Kickstarter and they raised a pretty good bit, having the founders do like karaoke and sing and do all sorts of cringe stuff. So if you could drop some real fat bars, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I might throw some digital bills at you. You never know.
Maybe I'll find a way to work that into the vision deck that I'm working on.
Love it. Alme says, "See you, $10. Let's get bars." sounds doable. All right, we have a question from Goliath Rules. Question: what are we doing with UNIM and the liquidity pool? Again, please remind us in the town hall. I'll answer some of those questions. For the liquidity pool, we did write a nice guide over at Substack. So just go over at cryptounicorns.substack.com and check out the pinned articles that should have the liquidity pool, staking guides, all about that. And for UNIM, we are going to implement that in the second part of the Rainbow Bridge, if I'm correct.
Correct, yes. So we'll be updating the Rainbow Bridge once the core game comes down, to allow you to bridge your unicorn milk directly to Xi. It will live on Xi. And then the liquidity pool for unicorn milk will get migrated to Xi and will live on the Camelot Dex deployment on Xi. So Unim will be Xi bound and ready to roll.
All right. Love it. Next up, we have a question from Meth6. He asks, are you satisfied with marketing?
Yes, we've seen growth across all of our social channels. We've seen over 600% appreciation on the token since the first of the year. Obviously, that has chopped along with the rest of the market. We can't help when people bomb each other, right? And some of the FUD that gets created around that. Obviously, the regulatory environment in the United States continues to be very difficult, and you're seeing the Democrats not support crypto and the Republican Party begin to support crypto very strongly now. So there's an interesting thing playing out right now. So yes, I am satisfied with marketing. If you expected growth while we were player growth while we were still on Polygon, that's not even a KPI for us, right? We are leaving Polygon as soon as possible. And the focus of player growth marketing efforts, none of those kick off until we're obviously live on Xi. We've been working for several months now on a big Odyssey program with the Xi team directly. And we're going to be featured in July with our Play to Airdrop campaign, coupled with a big Odyssey campaign that they're promoting. So there's a lot of plans on that front ahead from a marketing perspective. But just generally, if you look at, we have people like Seed Phrase talking about us, right? I mean, the things that so many of, that myself and many of the community members have wanted for a very long time is now happening. We have Forza in our town hall today. We have Crypto Owl in our town hall today. Is marketing working? Yes. Great question. Happy to answer follow-ups.
All right. Great question. Great answer. All right. Let's check our questions. By the way, for those who want to leave questions, please leave them over at the feedback channel over at the Town Hall 55 questions thread. You can also ask an anonymous question. We have 2 left. And if you really want to talk with Aron, you can just hop on the stage, click the hand icon, and it will approve you. I mean, we just mentioned 2 of our esteemed audiences. Do you guys want to hop on, say hi? Here's a throwaway question from Goliath Rules. I think we mentioned dragon corns in the last town hall. When dragon corns? Do you think they'll ever have a place in the roadmap, like actual official?
I could see a one of
Potentially as a
one
one of
dragon
one.
corn. Yeah.
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 Ooh.
Actually seeing Josh's AI corns, which that's amazing to see how far generative tech is coming, where you can kind of obviously feed it our bases and then get modifications out of it. I sure wish we'd had that when we were launching this project. But seeing those dragon corns, it was like, oh shit, my thought was, well, maybe we do a limited set of like 5 dragon corns that are 1 of 1s or something. So it is not out of the realm of possibility that we'd see some dragon corns here.
That is true. It is also like if they're connected to a similar event, you could do 5 dragon corns that have a pretty similar model, and as they get better or more rare, they can change colors or have some extra effects, or the best rarest one for like first place on the leaderboard or whatever could be gold or have golden wings or something like that. So within the realm of dragons, you're like, hey, I got the only gold one or only blue eyes one or whatever.
Oh my god, a blue eyes one. Oh, I get it. Oh my god. I need it. The card game nerd in me. Ugh. I would die. I would dress up as Kaiba. All right. We have another question from Prof. What is the plan with Shadow Coins? Since it's the first thing to get attention with its own loot box, I'd love to know the plan there. Ooh, are we ready to divulge?
There's a lot ahead with shadow corns. I mean, we view shadow corns as like obviously the ultra premium side of our collection, right? They're 3K non-generative, so they are rare. They are, there's never going to be more than 3K shadow corns. To date, we've kind of focused on obviously the Shadow Forge, the production of minions, the build out of your minion armies, and then obviously distributing rewards to the players who obviously are participating in that loop. I guess key highlights ahead for Shadow Corns, right? We're going to be revamping some of the structure, some of the reward structure. I think Shadow Corn holders will be very excited about this revamp. In addition to that, we're going to be updating the Twilight Tactics minigame based on feedback from the last iteration. And looking at ways to continue to lean towards the Shadow Corns being a more passive loop, certainly, than the core land gameplay loops, and something that hopefully helps attract, participants and collectors. The key piece that's top of mind for me is actually Shadowcorn Ascension, which was something that we've teased kind of from the beginning of the launch of that collection. Obviously, there are only a certain number of unique Shadowcorn visuals, right? 3 across each rarity, times each class, so basically 15. And that's not a lot of variety, right? Especially for a 3K collection. So through Ascension, we're looking at ways to make each Shadowcorn visually stand out and unique, different poses, different card art, like really trying to lean into that and making Shadowcorn Ascension and this chase to be kind of the most powerful holder on that side of the collection. Something that's not only reflected in your power score, but in your Shadowcorn's unique visual, which will also, from a marketplace perspective, give them a lot more variety, especially if you're looking to pick up a new one. So we have a lot of plans ahead for Shadowcorns, especially post the Zygration, and I think people are going to be very excited. Our new hire, not really new anymore, but good old Vince from Sky Mavis is kind of taking the charge on refactoring a lot of the systems there and reformatting it. So exciting times ahead for Shadowcorn holders. Obviously, it's kind of a great entry point for players looking to be more passive in their gameplay, but still earn core ecosystem tokens, etc. And so I guess that's what I will reveal today. We continue to plan to bring Shadowcorns and minions closer and closer and closer to core gameplay and a lot of the elements there. So Shadowcorns will give the tribes that own them, some benefits in tribe v tribe PvP and these things. And so again, we've got a number of integrations that we're planning across, across Shadow Corns, and trying to stay again focused on, hey, this is a very limited, high rarity collection that we want to maintain stable value around, and obviously give those players that want to participate in that something to engage in that, again, is a little more passive. And all kinds of fun things like 13 Forsaken, which will be the top 13 Shadow Corns. And then, of course, the Primeval. Those things, getting those rankings will confer certain benefits to the holders, et cetera. And so, yes, I'm very excited about Shadow Corns. We certainly haven't forgot about them. Not to mention the TV series that we're pitching to a bunch of streaming services right now, of course, features Shadow Corns and the Unicorns. It's kind of the core arc of the TV series, is kind of the conflict between the two factions. So exciting times ahead for all things Shadow Corns going forward.
Yeah, the story with just unicorns being happy-go-lucky only stays interesting for so long. Eventually, something bad has to happen, and they need a reason to have conflict and not just go grab resources into infinity, right? Even in the comic book, the unicorn economy needs to make sense and be rooted in struggle.
For sure.
No, for the Shadowcorn stuff, it's kind of incredible how quickly Vince gravitated towards the Shadowcorn stuff. Sparkly just tagged him here in the chat at Zoser, Zoser, for anyone listening on the many platforms we're live on right now. Hello, YouTube. Hello, Twitter. And of course, everyone on Discord. But if you're really passionate about Shadowcorns, or you have a bunch, or you have specific thoughts, definitely feel free to say hi to Vince, drop him a message, introduce yourself, and just share whatever thoughts. He's been really knee deep, kind of laser focused on the Shadowcorn experience, and it was cool that I think he understood the vision of what we were going for very quickly, and then immediately said, all right, well, here's 10 things that I think don't necessarily align with the stated vision. And, that's a beautiful catalyst for him to kick off kind of owning the Shadowcorns. So he's one very much empathizing with the Shadowcorn experience, where a lot of us are really focused on the migration. Vince has been pretty heads down. So just kind of a general PSA. He's been a little quiet and serious because Sysmal has been in there chatting away. But yeah, be friendly. Feel free to reach out.
Serious can be intimidating for a noob. It's part of we call it walking the plank, internally at LG, when we send a noob into Sirius for the first time.
Yeah, a lot of big economic words in Sirius. So if you're not used to that kind of lingo, it definitely is intimidating.
Definitely feel you there. And also another shout out to Sysmal. So while Vince is taking care of the Shadowcorn side of things, you might see Sysmal dropping by in Sirius and sharing a couple of screenshots. So yesterday, pretty sure there was one there with a JoJo reference, and it had a lot of content. So you might be able to parse from there what the role of Shadowcorns will play in that game mode.
Yeah, I think we're doing a much better job at multitasking. Before we had a few too many kind of single points of failure, where one person ended up being responsible for too many things and signing off on too much stuff. And now we're slowly moving into this world where we have a better concept of what we want Shadowcorns to be, what we need tribes to be, what we need our puzzle battler to be, all that kind of stuff. And now that we have people like Vince and Sysmal on board, we can let them really specialize in this specific piece and make sure they understand how it hooks in and all these other parameters and all these knock-on effects, but really be like, okay, you're in charge of this part and how it hooks into everything else, and making sure it all gets tied together. And I think, reflecting on Twilight Tactics a little bit, it was one of those where there were too many handoffs, right? 5 different people that each played a key part, and every time it got handed off, a little bit of that vision got lost, or 10% distorted, and after 5 handoffs, that gets like compounded and amplified, and you end up with something that's, hey, this is pretty close, but it's not quite what we had in mind when we started, and we were really excited about the potential of this idea. So making sure we have product owners that help maintain that that vision during the handoff, right? So sorry to go deep in the meta of LG, but I think it's important to talk about this stuff sometimes because it's hard to see unless we talk about it. And it's the importance of these new hires. It does take months for them to get fully onboarded and really see like the production of what they're working on. But this is why they've helped play a key role and why they've been able to be heads down, because I think our infrastructure has gotten better at saying, hey, we need you to just own this piece right now until it's polished up and at community expectations.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the community is really going to appreciate the transparency that we have behind these new hires and what they're doing with LG. Okay, so Aaron just answered a question that I was going to read off, but I'm pretty sure that you'd love to elaborate if you want. Okay, I'm just going to read it out right now for other streams. Cryptel is asking, are you able to elaborate on any details concerning partnerships with Team Secret and or DWF Labs?
Yeah, really quick. Team Secret is a partner on the Xi front. They were an early announced partner with Xi. And so how that relates to us is we're very focused on trying to get some Team Secret members to participate in our Creator Cup, which will be launching alongside the relaunch of Rainbow Rumble, which comes roughly a month or so after we're live on Xi. Obviously, new levels, new content, the portal glitch, or however you want to put it, is fixed. Like a bunch of wonderful stuff kind of happening on that front. And of course, Ilri will be leading the charge on putting together a big Creator Cup around that, and a series of events around it, I guess I should say. So that's very exciting on that front. I'm very anxious to get that kind of secondary marketing beat after the Played Airdrop Season 1 and everything kind of kicks off with the core game launch on Xi. And then DWF Labs has been our market maker since early in this year on a couple of the centralized exchanges that we currently operate on. We are working towards a partnership with another market maker that's very close, if not already signed, called GSR, which is another big market maker in this space. So lots of options on that front. As we hopefully expand to more centralized exchanges over time. And then I guess I should say, we also have worked with Coin Liquidity Services as a market maker. So trying a bunch of different partners and seeing who happens to be the best, and that'll obviously be the one that we ultimately stick with and hopefully scale with. Thanks for the questions.
All right. We have an anonymous question that just came up from an anonymous person. Why does the market go down after every CU major update?
I was joking about this yesterday where I said we might as well go to GMX on Arbitrum and put a 50x leverage short any damn day I choose to release anything. So it does seem to kind of plague us a little bit. And I really don't know why, but I should start to at least, try to make some money off of it. I don't know. It does seem to be a thing that plagues us a little bit. We're certainly expecting, more chop and kind of volatility in the market, but are very bullish mid to long term. And I very much hope that timing kind of works out with the June relaunch of the game in Xi. Those who were with us 2 years ago, we had a pretty rough launch due to a number of errors on, issues on our side, but also 6 weekly red candles to the market bottom, the cycle market bottom, right after we launched. So, I am somewhat cognizant of that, and actually think it's better that we're relaunching, I should say, in June. I feel a little bit better about that timeline than I do launching in the next couple of weeks, just kind of based on what we're seeing in the market currently.
Okay, fair. We are open for another Anonymous question. If anybody wants to ask, the form is over at our feedback channel, and you're going to see the thread there for Town Hall questions number 55. So go ahead and ask your question there. You can ask it anonymously or not anonymously. We have one slot left for anonymous.
Yeah.
Related to all of prices. Yeah, go ahead.
Say one thing that I can kind of touch on while we're waiting for questions or someone to come up, kind of reiterate something I was just mentioning in Sirius like an hour and a half ago. I think I always forget how do you say this guy's name? The Dijkstra Revenge. Is there a proper pronunciation on that, Sparkly? Can I get a line here?
Man, I wish I knew. I'm
Dijkstra?
sorry.
I just say DJ. I just say DJ and go with it.
My
DJ,
boy,
DJ's
DJ.
Revenge. All right, gotcha, Mr. Non-linear here. But he had a pretty good question of like, okay, here's some projections. We might be at like 400, 500K worth of external RBW purchases. Is this enough to have a meaningful impact? Sorry if I'm wrong here. You feel free to correct me, but I don't see like a ton of growth coming from this. And I think it's just important to put into context something that Aron mentioned briefly earlier, that this is a time game, right? Like the game doesn't shut down till May 27th. It's going to be down for multiple weeks, 3 to 4, something in that range. We've got a while before we're back up, open for business, and ready to go, full send on Zai and Arbitrum and all this kind of stuff. So, the governance token is specifically something that's very delicate and special at the core of our ecosystem. So it made sense just strategically to separate it out, if anything, to make sure this part of the migration is isolated, smooth. Okay, great, that's done. We put some incentives there, all good. Not a lot of time pressure, right? People have plenty of time to bridge over their RBW. There's no race. Then we get the game flipped on, everything's good, and we've got this very specific focus instead of trying to do everything at once. So there's no doubt that we want to spread things out over time, and I don't know that there's a specific number here that defines meaningful impact, right? It depends on really what we mean by meaningful impact, but in the worst case scenario here, it's really not that much of a misfire. It basically means that our community is going to get some extra rewards from this leaderboard and the juiced up liquidity pool, and you guys get a bonus for being here and being tuned in and being early and, quote, suffering through the downtime. So would we love to see more outside money? Absolutely. The whole thing here is running this first big experiment to see where is that money on Arbitrum. Do people want to come over? Do they believe yet? Do we need the game to be live before the narrative really makes sense? We've certainly made some assumptions, but this is like uncharted territory, guys. Not in a scary way, but there is going to be some experimentation, some trial and error, and we're trying to position all of these things so that even when we have stuff that misfires, the fallout is like, well, our existing community is happy, and most of that stuff was earmarked for rewards anyway. So we're okay. We can just pivot, change some stuff, pull some levers, try another experiment, and one of these days, we're going to crack the code, and we'll start to see that waterfall begin. So all that said, we're less than 24 hours into this thing, so let's not give up hope yet. We've got a lot of partners that are going to turn on and coming out at different times. We ended up having to kick it down an extra day, so we've had to reschedule a few things, and I don't think we were hyper concerned about making sure there was a giant spike the moment it opens and getting this really manufactured hype moment. We want the chart to feel a little more stable, I think. It's not a bad thing to see this progression rather than some giant candles up and down. So Aron, if you have anything else to add to that, feel free, but just wanted to highlight that long-term vision is still the real catalyst here, and being able to utilize Zai to help subsidize the economy alongside the improvements of speed and gas is the really key thing here, right? We're going to get to reboot this economy, and CU is going to have much less inflation than RBW has had on Polygon through gameplay rewards, but still have cool gameplay rewards because now we've got Zai and this other stuff to swap in. So
for sure. Yeah, for sure. I mean, everything you said is true. Obviously, again, I think we get a little mid-curvy, mostly driven by impatience. We're less than 24 hours in, and we've already added 15% to our TBL, right? And if it's only our community, well, you're getting $1.5 million in rewards over a year. I mean, so it's kind of one of those things where Sirius is a funny place where people will kind of complain about that or think something that has actually kicked off pretty well in our eyes. Hasn't done it. I think what I have seen is it takes a while for narratives to get baked in, and again, all of our KOLs activating, our co-marketing efforts with Camelot, Arbitrum, and Xi, Twitter Spaces, etc. All of that is coming. We'll be beating the drum on the opportunities to stake CULP and go from there. And I think I saw somebody else call this out. Like, there's only so much you can do in the market that we currently have right now. It is very choppy. And you got people who think it will continue to chop down and some who believe it will continue to chop up. We have seen throughout this year that our token has had periods of really exciting momentum that's come very organically from new entrants into our community. And so that's been phenomenal. Now new entrants have an option to stake and earn these really phenomenal rewards on top of it. So I feel really good about how the launch is starting, especially knowing the scope of our plans in the coming weeks and months on that front. So it's definitely a long game. It's one of the reasons that I'll die on the hill that time locking liquidity is the only way to incentivize liquidity. Otherwise, what are you incentivizing? An immediate rug pull. So there's certain pieces here that, I'm excited to see how they develop. And it's great to see. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, people were saying no one would stake for 12 months at all. And we've already seen the majority of people stake for 12 months. So again, I ask for a little bit of trust and faith around certain things here. And we shouldn't get, we shouldn't look at the first 24 hours and go, oh, it's a failure or not. And right now, I think it's actually moving in a great direction, very positive, especially when you look at the current market sentiment where it is. The narrative that needs to be broadcast as wide as possible is staking CULP tokens as a way to earn a gaming infra token in Xi that is come out of the gate hot, has an enormous amount of potential relative to other gaming ecosystem tokens. You're getting a GameFi project in Crypto Unicorns that has been here over 2 years, has earned its stripes and has learned a lot and is very much primed and prepared for growth. And then you're getting Camelot Dex's token, which is Grail, which they actually pass fees to token holders. So that's an opportunity to earn an exciting DeFi platform that has a lot of potential. So again, it takes a moment for narratives to set and bake, but I don't know why that wouldn't be exciting. There's obviously a lot of opportunities through the various grant programs within the Arbitrum ecosystem to also see Arbitrum flow into this reward pool over time. So I think we're well set up from that perspective. And Andrew, you and I discussed this in our one-on-one this week. Like, if ultimately we're under where we want to be in terms of liquidity, well, there's an enormous bucket of tokens that we still have available to push on to increase over time if necessary. But as of right now, with the early data that we're seeing, I'm super happy with how this kicked off. And let's give it a few weeks for our marketing effort and marketing machine to really start to spin on it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about, we talked about this in Serious some because at first people said, wow, I thought we were going to juice the rewards a lot more. And of course, the answer is, well, it has to come from somewhere. So either we have to do that really with CU tokens or Xi tokens. We could use Xi, but that means we have to pull from more rewards buckets in the future. So that's probably like lower in-game rewards and stuff. And maybe that's worth it. Maybe that's not, but it's a trade-off. And with CU, it's very much the same thing. We want to start with hey, what's like the lowest amount of inflation that we can kind of get away with here? Because then that gives us a lever with a lot more bandwidth to say, oh, cool, some stuff is falling into place. We can now double or triple the rewards here for a defined period, or the rest of the leaderboard, or all sorts of things. If we want to. It's always easier to do that than it is the other way, where you start too high and go, all right, guys, we're cutting rewards in half because this is what it should have been. That's always a feels bad, right? So we're trying to be cautious to set ourselves up to have
100%.
potential to do that the other way. So more
Look, see,
bandwidth there.
we've learned
Yeah.
things over time because we've actually had to experience these problems time and time and time again. And I keep telling everyone, this is our moat as a project and as a team in the space, is we were unafraid to put something out there and learn on the job in real time with a real economy and tokens flowing in and out since we launched. And very, very, very few teams in the space have done that. They've been more cautious in their approaches. And I've been a little happy to see some of their tokens also get beat to shit after their hype launches and then lack of actually engaging economies. And it's been wonderful, by the way, to get feedback from players who have actually been looking outside of our game for stuff to play while we're down for a few weeks in June, and actually come back and said really nice things about, hey, going out to see and experience some other titles in the space, and you really start to appreciate what we've all built together as a community. And again, it's just funny. We really have learned a lot around how to better manage, expectations. And Zori, to your point, like that's exactly what we did with the LBE. I think we've set it up in a way where, if it fails to hit the target TVL that we wanted, fine. We over rewarded our players who have been grinding for 2 years, right? Like I'll never look at that as a failure. But again, we're less than 24 hours in. I'm excited by the early data. It's amazing to see. I just shared in the 83% of LP has been staked for a year. I mean, that really shows high confidence in our ability to execute. I think the timing from a market perspective for people LPing now is really great. And you're getting exposure to a lot of very exciting assets with this opportunity. So again, give us time to get the marketing engine spinning, beat the drum, have our partners do the same, and let's see where we land in a few weeks.
Yeah, totally. I don't want to soapbox too much, but I have spent a decent amount of time over the last couple weeks really thinking about what hype means in this space, right? We've been teasing that we're going to do some airdrop stuff. I don't want to take a wind from Mitch's sails, but we have announcements lined up, as the game is going down. So we have these beats ready, and we've been looking at a lot of other things across the aisle. Like Pirate Nations is doing a play to airdrop thing where it's points, and they have this interface, and you can get points for retweeting stuff. And like as an example, you can get points if you go into the Discord every day and make at least one post in pirate slang. And it's like, okay, that's cool. That's engagement. Now I go into their Discord and it's just like, yar me sand be windy matey. And it's like, fucking Christ, why does anybody need any of this? Like, is this useful engagement? And maybe they're trying to pump up their Discord metrics or something. I don't know. Maybe there is a broader image. I'm not really trying to pick on Pirate Nations specifically, but more just highlight that hype can sometimes seem really appealing. But as Aaron said, if you don't have the gusto to back it up, it kind of just creates this like little spike up and down and missed expectations. And a lot of that stuff, I think, kind of appeals to low value users, which is, I don't mean to say that. I hope that doesn't sound mean, but some users are more valuable than others, like airdrop hunters. That's fine, you can do that, but from a protocol's perspective, if you're just trying to get it to dump it immediately, we don't necessarily want to attract you over people that might actually be genuinely interested and see how we do things a little bit differently. We're obviously working with a bunch of KOLs, this stupid term for influencers. That's what I like to call them. KOL is key opinion leader. A lot of them are full of shit. Some of you guys might have seen the drama recently where it came out about how much some of them were getting paid. And when all of these different games are trying to launch tokens and do play to airdrop campaigns and compete for the same airwaves, it creates this supply crunch where all these influencers get overpaid to shill a bunch of crap that they don't really care about, that doesn't really have a lot behind it anyway. And then I'm stuck sitting here like, all right, how do we stand out from the herd when everyone else is making all this noise? And it almost seems like you want to copy that playbook, but then we're just another one in the herd that gets caught up in the noise. So a long-winded way to say you can manufacture some hype, but what I've seen time and time again is it doesn't really feel worth it. You overpay for an artificial spike that doesn't really give you that much in the long run. So I hear the criticisms about the time lock, but I think Aaron's point that we just have to stand our ground and say, hey, we want to have you. We want to give you some juice to come in here, but you got to meet us part way and lock up for some period of time because we're doing something different here. And like, we would rather have less money in the pool and do something that feels like it's stable for our game economy than chase the hypest narrative. And I think we're going to start seeing that more and more with some of these Ronin games specifically, where the hype machine is cool, but after the hype machine is done and we just go on to the next one. I mean, I was just watching Big Love. It reminds me of Sister Wives. You know, you have 10 wives. Nobody remembers wife number 3. You know, you get your day in the spotlight and then you're just kind of forgotten about. And that's what some of these ultra hype things feel like once there's been 5 more. Oh my God, we got to chase this and get it. So long-winded rant to say hype is complicated. And I think we're a little more interested in the slow and steady and trying to work with like real gamers. You know, like Cairo is one of the guys that we've got on as a quote KOL who's going to make some content and stuff. And I like people like that because I know the dude actually plays fucking games. I've seen him stream the hours on Twitch. I've seen him compete. I've seen him get headshots. I've seen him kill Dr. Disrespect live on stream. Like, the dude can game. And those are the folks that I think have more gusto than these guys that walk up to me at GDC and go, hi, I'm a KOL. I want to put you in a video for 10 seconds. Like, all right, I'll do it. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, this isn't the guy. Anyway.
It's hard to wade through the set of potential partners to find the right ones for sure. And I think Mitch and you have done a very good job in kind of sourcing ones that are going to put us in the right light. And, you know, again, to your point, are legit gamers. We've got some DeFi people as well coming in, right, to drive some of the narratives that we've been discussing around the opportunities of staking CULP, providing liquidity to our growing project.
Absolutely. Hold on. We do have a speaker. Last rules. Come on to the stage, please. And as a side note, some members of our community report that they hallucinated orally that we said specific dates out loud. So chat, if you heard a specific date, no, you didn't. No. All right. Hello, Goliath.
We don't talk about dates. We don't talk about dates.
No dates.
Hey, how are you all? You're good.
Doing fantastic. How are you?
Good. I was going to let you know that I was in, so I run a multi-project, group, and we have feeds from all of the different projects. And with that hype chain that basically Pirate Nation did, it just slogged. I mean, it just swamped one of my channels on that, and it didn't add any value. I mean, I literally had to suppress it at some point because it was just diarrhea of the posts. And I don't think that, I mean, it's like saying going in and GM and, pirate stuff. I mean, that didn't help anything. I mean, like you said, you're going to get a few people that might, pay attention to that for a short period of time, but that's not a way of building a community. I mean, from my perspective, we're building a community. We're building people that stick around. I mean, obviously people stuck around for 2 years and are still here, bitching and serious and that. So I mean, that shows that basically you got
engagement is engagement.
Exactly.
I mean, I use all the serious talk as a way to show engagement, because ultimately the people in there complaining care enough to come in and give us their opinions. And so, despite some levels of toxicity at times, I look very fondly on the activity that we have really across our community and not just in the serious channel.
It reminds me of those like movie buff forums sometimes where it's like everyone's complaining about these movies they claim to hate but can't stop watching over and over to complain about these minute details. And so, the producers are looking at that like, I think we'll take it. This is driving engagement here. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too is that I don't know who's all been through one of these game migrations, but I've been through 3 of them, and it is a crap ton of work. I mean, it takes time and it takes patience from a gamer standpoint and from a community member, because the amount of work that's being done by the team is, you can't even contemplate it, if you're on our side. From an IT manager standpoint, I sympathize with you all. I mean, I just couldn't imagine the amount of coordination you have to do. So that with that, I'm saying good job. And obviously the timing from my standpoint, from what I see, I think you got the timing right. Basically get the tools in place so that when you're ready for the migration, when it basically transitions, then you have the liquidity pool and the other aspects in place already, and you just phase it in, and that's where we're at. So we're in the initial phase, and that's just my feedback in the end. That I mean, we're migrating tens of thousands of NFTs over for a game that has a very complex economy. I mean, anyway, that's just my 2 cents back from a community member. I thought it'd be
Thoughts and
nice to hear.
prayers. Thoughts and prayers for LG Rob, our technical
Exactly.
director, leading the charge. Thoughts and prayers for him. No, I mean, the team's been executing like crazy on that front, and we've gotten a lot of support out of the Xi team, and in putting us directly in touch with other partners for subgraph support and all kinds of things. And so it's been quite the process, as you indicate, but the team's crushing it, and it really is like performing open heart surgery, live on chain. And so something that we're preparing for and really making sure goes off without a hitch.
Yeah, Goliath, I think that you were chatting about it in Sirius, but as just kind of a general note to PSA, of course, when we say migration for the core assets, it's made possible for us to just move everything because it's really more of like a burn everything on Polygon, copy
Yep.
it, and then put it over on Arbitrum. And the beauty of the way these things work is that we can lock and change all of those old contracts. So there won't be duplicates out there, but
Yep.
we can just kind of move it on over. Everything's EVM. It all speaks the same language. That part's like all nice and seamless. So I know a lot of folks have been asking about, NFTs and land and how do I move all that over? And we haven't been talking about it as much because it's going to be like really easy, AKA most of it's going to be moved for you. And we wanted to get this token bridge stuff out of the way. As Aaron said before, Unum and other stuff, or Unum specifically, will get pushed through the bridge later on after the game shuts down. So
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I mean, because I've been through 3 of them in that, and there's obviously there's 2 thought processes, which is, hey, you get to move it all yourself, which is a really sucky way of doing it, right? That's something that I've seen done and have had done to one of the projects, and that basically puts all the onus on the owners, right, of the NFTs. And it's just basically that project collapsed in the end. So, doing it the right way, which is basically replicate everything, then burn everything on the other side, and then go from there. That makes everybody happy. And sure, I mean, you guys are taking on a lot of work, but in the end, I mean, that's how you
it's
keep
a lot
the project
easier.
going. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's lower friction. Of course, there's differences too, right? We were kind of native to Polygon. If you're a project that is native to Ethereum and then you had bridged to Polygon, then, well, okay, maybe you do want to put it back and then, bridge it to whatever chain you're going to. Sort of mincing words, but I just wanted to throw that out there for anyone that was confused. The terminology has morphed, but the TLDR is that we're going to make it as easy as possible for you guys and try to minimize the amount of extra transactions being redone. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Now, the other question that I had was around this concept of mirroring. I mean, obviously, we're not going to do it anytime soon, but if we wanted to do OpenSea, at least have them have the opportunity to buy and sell on OpenSea. Not to say that it is our primary marketplace or Blur or whatever. Have you considered in the future maybe doing mirroring to Arbitrum and then allowing folks to basically do sort of that thing that
I think we'd more likely just wait for them to integrate Xi. And feel free to correct me if I'm
Yeah,
wrong
I
there,
like that
Aaron.
better.
But we're not in any rush. I mean, I think our marketplace is going to be superior regardless of anything that Blur or OpenSea offers because of just all the customizations, being able to see total stats and all that stuff. I think our marketplace is going to be way better. I think it's going to be similar to Zedrun, where, yeah, you could buy Zed horses anywhere that offer the NFTs, but it was really Haku that owned the interface and had like 90% of the market share or something. So we'll finally have the tools to hopefully have that network effect. And then that, weirdly enough, makes it really hard for even those giant marketplaces to compete because just the liquidity is not there. If you're a flipper, you're going to get better prices on the market that has better volume and liquidity and stuff. So
I think that's a better approach.
Yeah.
So that's good to hear. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the opportunity to bring it into our custom UI and fully surface the information that our players care about, right? Never see another locked unicorn listed again. Like these kind of things that for years and after we've paid through secondary fees, OpenSea millions of dollars, that have never gotten resolved, right? So from my perspective, I'm done with other marketplaces over time through success, and there's one unannounced marketplace that will be coming to and supporting Xi. The way our marketplace contracts work is it will be possible for people to list on other Xi-based marketplaces. Our custom marketplace will still surface those listings to players. And so we're always going to encourage people to come to our interface because it will, again, give you the right data, the up-to-date data, and then have you avoid things like, people trying to list locked assets and stuff, which whoever continues to do that 2.5 years in, at this point, I'm not even mad at you anymore because I don't know why you're wasting your time. But very soon that will no longer be possible. So that's kind of the plan there. As far as mirroring and stuff is concerned, that would be a huge refactor to how our contracts work. We'd have to leverage probably like Layer Zero's Omni non-fungible token standard. They have an Omni fungible token standard as well that gives you more cross-chain functionality, I guess I'll say. But right now, I don't think it's necessary. We've seen with other games that, your custom marketplace can kind of become the hub and the center point of activity. What I am working with the Xi team on is making sure like Crypto Slam is showing Xi NFT volume and showing our marketplace and that kind of stuff. Maybe DApp Radar as well. And so again, trying to make sure that, when people are going to look at aggregate analytic data around marketplaces and NFT volume, that data is hitting those sites. So that's kind of where my mind currently is at with respect to like how we make sure our custom marketplace is findable even to people outside of our community and people not hitting our website and getting pushed there.
No, that sounds good. Hey, thanks. I mean, that sounds like a good plan. And the only other question I have, and then I can hand it off, is do you think the marketplace technology that you're making basically will be sort of licensable, meaning that you could like take the technology that LG made and essentially have it somebody else can use a Xi marketplace that they just got to customize it for themselves? Is that's the only thing I had. So
yeah, so to be clear, the smart contracts themselves are Third Web open source contracts. So the Third Web team, built those custom or those marketplace contracts. They're very similar to other marketplace contracts. So there should be no surprises there. And I just mentioned very specifically that they're open source and they've been audited. Our web team built the interface on top, right, which is the user interface and skinning it in exactly our fashion. So that's not necessarily too reusable because it's in our theme and style and focused on the metadata and stuff that we care about relative to our assets. And then the back end itself is Third Web owned. So, and I've shouted praises for Third Web for quite some time, and, we'll do so again. I mean, we've been super happy working with that team and leveraging their tools on that front. So anyway, hopefully that kind of clarifies what we've built, where we chose to focus. We build enough smart contracts and are responsible for enough smart contracts that the opportunity to use an already audited, and tested open source marketplace contract from Third Web was the direction we headed.
Okay, cool. Hey, thanks for the feedback and keep on doing the good work.
Thanks, Clyde.
Thank you so much, Goliath, and thank you so much also for being part of the Unicorn fam throughout these 2 years. Well, you're one of the newer community members, but what is new these days?
An hour and serious, and you've been onboarded, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, definitely. Time works differently in that channel. We
100%.
have an anonymous question. This is going to be our last question since we've hit the end of the hour. Can you please give an update on the golden ticket marketplace?
That is a post-Xi thing. The web team, now that the staking website and Rainbow Bridge are live, they are very focused on the custom marketplace and a few of the kind of minor changes that they're going to need to make on the website itself to coincide with the Zygration. Once we're live with the custom marketplace and obviously the Zygration is done, the web team kind of will have two primary projects, one being Twilight Tactics 2.0, which is a iteration on top of the 1.0 version, basically taking player feedback and implementing it. So another fantastic example of us really embracing community feedback and kind of working to improve things together. And then the golden ticket marketplace. So it's not so far off on the horizon that we can't talk about it. And I'll continue to reinforce that as long as we've been giving out those tickets, we're very cognizant of the need to make that marketplace awesome. So it will be kind of a rare, limited time marketplace for those who may be new or haven't heard of it. Kind of like Zur in Destiny, where you kind of wanted to visit Zur when he showed up. The marketplace has its own little traveling merchant who will show up at random times. And there'll be kind of limited time items available in the marketplace for golden tickets. You'll burn those golden tickets to purchase things in the marketplace. So that is the plan, and that is kind of the timeline there, with the web team focused on custom marketplace right now and the Zygration. And then after the Zygration, it'll be a toss-up between do they start on Twilight Tactics 2.0 or golden tickets. And I think honestly right now I'd probably put Twilight Tactics 2.0 in front. So
Aaron, we might have to get creative
will
here
be rewarded
with the golden tickets. I saw with the Trump NFTs making headlines yesterday that for certain NFT holders, you could actually get a piece of the suit that he was supposedly wearing on Inauguration Day. And I think it was a wildly successful campaign. So we might need to consider something similar. It's been our 2-year anniversary of the game being live, 2 years and a couple of days. So if you can remember what you were wearing on that day, maybe we take that hoodie and we scrap it up, and then, golden tickets could maybe get a shard of the RBW hoodie. Maybe one lucky winner that gets to come barbecue. If you can survive San Francisco, you can come barbecue with Aaron. Get something real crazy out there and see how far we can push the golden ticket vending machine.
That's true. I mean, Trump with his NFT collection has done and delivered more than most projects in the space. And it's very funny to see him lean heavily into it. And obviously, it's great to see a pro-crypto candidate that has a shot of winning the presidency here, for sure.
Yeah. So just something to think about, for these iconic moments. Think about what you're wearing, take yourself a mental snapshot, and we'll start cutting it up and really turn this thing into the deity worship that we've been lacking. The unicorns need a one true leader, and I think you're our number one candidate, buddy. So time to suit up. Literally, we got to suit up so we can cut it up. The people need it.
I need a new hairdo for sure.
Well, that's all I got, Sparkly.
Suit. Absolutely. All right, that concludes our town hall. That's our final question of the day. If you have any other questions in the thread, we will answer them later. We'll post a recording of this in our socials if you would like to give it a re-listen. And don't forget to share this with your friends and fellow Unicorn fam who couldn't make it. And if you have more burning questions, feel free to reach out on our support channels, the Mod Support channel and the Ask LG Team channel. So this has been Sparkly Unicorn with Stealthy on Tech, hosting co-founder and CEO Aron, plus our director, Ziori. Stick around for our jousting tool demo. Oh, hold on. We're already done with that. Good morning, good night, and see you in game, Unicorn fam. Ooh.
Woo.
Ooh.